So let's start with a little context, yeah? Brave New World, it's one of those books that I think everyone's heard about, but not necessarily read, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's not exactly light reading. It's this fascinating vision of the future written back in 1932 by Aldous Huxley. Now, Huxley, he wasn't just any writer. He came from this deeply intellectual family. His grandfather was a biologist, and his brother Julian was a renowned scientist. So you've got this mix of science and culture kind of running in his veins. The book itself, it's dystopian, but not in the dark, oppressive way you might think. It imagines a world that's, at least on the surface, all about comfort and happiness. Picture this, a society where everyone's content because they've been engineered to be that way. Literally engineered. From birth, or I guess I should say from the lab, every person is designed to fit into their role. There's no struggle, no unhappiness, or so it seems. And that idea, it's kind of unsettling, isn't it? What really stands out, though, is Huxley's attention to the details of this society. He goes into everything, the technology, the philosophies, even the daily lives of the people. It's like he didn't just write a story, he created an entire world. And what's crazy is how much of it feels, eerily relevant to us today. Things like consumerism, genetic engineering, even how people escape reality, it's all there. And this was written in the 30s. You've got to wonder how he saw all of that coming, don't you? But before we get into all that, I want to take a moment to think about Huxley himself. Who was this guy, and what in his life could have led him to imagine something so profoundly different? And then, of course, the question is, why does this book still matter nearly a century later? It's fascinating to consider. One of the things I've always found fascinating about Brave New World is just how, personal it feels, I mean, it's this grand, sweeping vision of the future, but somehow it hits close to home. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling that way. There's something about the way Huxley writes that makes you, take a step back and start asking yourself some pretty big questions. For instance, think about this idea of comfort, right? In Huxley's world, comfort isn't just a nice bonus, it's the entire goal of society. And I'm sitting there wondering, is that really what we want? I mean, sure, nobody likes being uncomfortable, but if comfort is everything, then what about, the things we struggle for? Isn't there value in the messy, hard parts of life too? And then there's the other side of it, this kind of trade-off between individuality and the collective good. It's like in the book, everyone belongs to everyone else, right? That's the mantra. And I've got to admit, part of me is like, okay, that sounds almost ideal. But then when I sit with it for a second, it's actually, it's terrifying. Because where does you go in all of that? Where's your identity, your autonomy? It's like you lose the right to be uniquely you. And I think what really gets me is how relatable some of these ideas are today. We're not exactly in a dystopia, I know, but we see shades of it, don't we? Whether it's technology shaping our choices or this obsession, this pressure to have everything look picture perfect all the time. It's really something to think about. What would Huxley say if he could see the world as it is now? All right, so let's dive into some of the most striking moments in Brave New World. There's this passage early on where the director is explaining how individuals are conditioned from birth to love their role in society. And it's not just convincing, it's absolute. They're engineered, trained, bombarded with ideas until they literally can't imagine wanting anything else. It's fascinating, isn't it? But also quite disturbing when you think about what it means for freedom of thought. If you never even know what you're missing, is that real happiness? One line that really hit me was when Mustafa Mond, one of the world controllers, talks about why this system works. He basically says something like, we prefer stability to truth. And I think that's terrifying and brilliant all at once. It kind of makes you wonder how far we'd go ourselves for the sake of stability, doesn't it? I mean, imagine giving up something profound, something as essential as truth, just to keep the peace. What's wild is how eerily close that feels to choices we're asked to make. Maybe not as dramatically, but in our own way, And then there's this other moment. There's this scene where one character, Bernard Marx, struggles with fitting in. Now, Bernard is kind of an oddity. He's part of the elite, but he's not quite perfect, physically or emotionally. And in a society where perfection is everything, his difference is like, well, it's more than a flaw. It makes him almost invisible, like he doesn't belong at all. And that really struck me because, I guess, isn't that something we all wrestle with? This fear of being on the outside? Like, as much as we all talk about celebrating individuality, fitting in still seems so important to people, doesn't it? But the thing about Bernard is, you can't quite decide if he's a rebel or just, I don't know, insecure. He's frustrated with the world around him, but he also kind of craves the recognition and security it offers. And even though his story takes some interesting twists, the way Huxley paints him, you can't help but see bits of yourself there. It's unsettling and at the same time, brutally honest. So, let's talk themes, yeah? One of the most striking things about Brave New World is this idea of control versus freedom. I mean, in Huxley's world, control isn't just about laws or surveillance. It goes much deeper. It's in the way people are conditioned to think, to behave, even to feel or not feel in some cases. And it's fascinating because it raises the question, if you don't know you're being controlled, does it even feel like control? Then there's this whole idea of consumerism. Oh, it's everywhere in the book, isn't it? The society relies on this constant cycle of buying and discarding. Things need to break down so people can consume more. And honestly, it's hard not to think about how that mirrors aspects of our world today, don't you agree? It's like, are we any different? We're always upgrading, refreshing, replacing, but at what cost? And there's another biggie, technology and progress. You know, Huxley doesn't exactly portray technology as inherently bad, but what's interesting is how it takes over, how it reshapes humanity, almost quietly, until people aren't really, well, human anymore. It's not the machines that are scary, but how society uses them. It's kind of chilling, honestly, to think about where the line is between enhancing life and sort of erasing what makes us, us. What I really find striking is how Huxley weaves all of this into one central dilemma, happiness versus meaning. Think about it. Everything in this society is engineered for happiness, or at least something that looks like it. No pain, no struggle. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? But then you ask yourself, without struggle, without meaning, is it still happiness? Or is it just an empty kind of contentment? That's a tough one, isn't it? You know, I think it's really important to look at the world Huxley was living in when he wrote Brave New World. We're talking about the early 1930s, a time of major global upheaval. The Great Depression was in full swing, and you had these massive technological shifts transforming industries. I mean, it must have felt like the ground was shifting beneath people's feet. Yeah? And here's what gets me. You can kind of see how all of that influenced Huxley's vision. Like, this wasn't just a story pulled out of thin air. He was responding to his world. Think about the rise of mass production, assembly lines, automation. It's like humanity was being redefined by efficiency, wasn't it? And that obsession with efficiency really comes through in the book's society. Everyone's useful, everything's optimized. But when you look closer, it's also dehumanizing, isn't it? What's fascinating is how some of the ideas Huxley was grappling with back then feel, honestly, incredibly modern. Like genetic engineering. Back in the 1930s, that was pure science fiction, right? But now we've got CRISPR, gene editing, designer babies, things that Huxley could barely have imagined being real. And still, somehow, he tapped into these anxieties that resonate even more today. It's almost like he was holding up a mirror to the future, yeah? And then there's the political side. When Huxley wrote this, you had fascism rising in Europe, these governments with total control over their people. And he's imagining this world where control isn't exerted through violence, but through pleasure, through conditioning. That's what makes it so chilling, I think, because it's subtle. You don't even realize you're being controlled. And isn't that kind of what we see now, in a way? Not through governments, necessarily, but through algorithms, through targeted ads that, I guess, shape what we think and want without us even noticing. When you combine all of this, the historical context, the things Huxley was witnessing firsthand, It's no wonder this book still feels so relevant today. It wasn't just about his time, was it? It was this deep dive into where society could go, into the kind of challenges and trade-offs we might face. And honestly, I think that's why it still hits so hard, even now. So, here we are at the end of our journey through Brave New World. And, honestly, it's been quite the exploration, hasn't it? We've delved into some really profound ideas, from the nature of control and freedom to the delicate balance between happiness and meaning. And I think what Huxley has left us with is more than just a dystopian vision. It's a mirror, one that reflects not only his world, but ours too. What's truly remarkable, I think, is how this book, nearly a century old now, still manages to feel so current. Whether it's the precision of its societal engineering or the unsettling parallels with technology and consumer culture today, Huxley's world isn't as far removed from reality as it might first seem. And well, that's something worth pondering, isn't it? The way literature can transcend its own time to speak to us here and now. But what I keep coming back to is this tension Huxley raises between comfort and individuality, between stability and truth. It's as though he's asking us to decide what kind of world we want to build, and more importantly, who we want to be within it. There's no easy answer, of course, but maybe that's the point. Huxley wasn't just painting a picture of the future. He was challenging us to think critically, to question, to imagine, to reflect. And so what does that leave us with? For me, it's a sense of responsibility, I think. A responsibility to not just accept the world as it is, but to actively engage with it, to think about the choices we make, not just as individuals, but as a society, and maybe to embrace the discomfort that comes with asking these tough questions. Because if there's one thing Huxley shows us, it's that meaning is found not in avoiding the hard things, but in grappling with them. And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thank you for joining me in exploring this incredible book. It's been a real pleasure to share these thoughts with you, and I hope it's given you something to think about too. Until next time, take care and keep asking those big questions. Cheers.